Good morning, guys. John here, Mr. Forex Fire. Sorry, I'm a bit late this morning. We're about 8 minutes into our trading time. So I'm just going to quickly share the screen. We'll get straight into it and we'll take a look. I'm just going to get rid of some of this noise as well. Right. So going from yesterday, we are, let's take a look. This to open. Yesterday was a good day. We took one loss and then we came back with a win, taking out part of the loss. We ended up with a 1.07% gain. So again, we're doing pretty well for the week. We are just over break even at the moment, but again, we took one win, asymmetrical trading or asymmetrical compounding. If we get a one win today, we can then turn the dial on that third one. Let's just see if we can sort of muster something up. Again, we are stuck still between those two areas, okay, of the 30-minute pullback. This is on the 1 hour at the moment, to be fair. So you've got the 30-minute pullback here, okay, and we've sort of hit a double top here, so we're heading down into the lower ranges. We could be coming to attack these areas before we get that drive up. You see how I mentioned yesterday I was anticipating a move down into these lower areas before the move up. We have still been in this consolidated zone overall, and I mentioned the other day 8 hours we took around about 30 odd pips, and over 20 odd hours those are 30 odd pips. So you can just see how much we were stuck in this range. So again, let's go down to 1 minute. I still believe this is going to be the play, bounce into the lower regions before we head up. But again, first things first, let's get the path. Start from here. Look at the range on that, guys. Look at the range. It's not moving today, in all honesty. You've got from yesterday's session at the high, so you've got 40 odd pips. It's not too bad. It's not too bad, to be fair. It's still stayed within this range. There's been nothing as a breakout from this high to the low, to be fair. So it's still stuck within a distribution phase. We want to see these areas down here be attacked first, which is our demand areas, and then we might get a shoot off up to the higher side, to be fair. Let's take a look. So again, intermediary price is stuck between these swing points that we've done. If we go up, you can see here it's playing nicely for what I've drawn out there. We'll go back down to 1 minute. There's no need to draw up the supply and demand on the higher sides. We can set our goalposts now, to be fair. Let's get into it. Yeah, 30, yeah, start. So as we sort of draw out what's been going on with the swings, again, got a high. Low. Go high. lower. And we'll just mark it out intermediate, tell you what's been going on. We've just had an impulse coming down, to be fair. So for me, that will be the lower low. Now we're making a lower high. So we're looking at a possible break. For me, if I'm honest with you, it's going to have to be a break of that. Or we're going to have to wait for a break of structure of that. And that'll be the run of play for the moment, okay? So at the moment, we're waiting for price to move up, break to go up, or we are waiting for price to continue down, to go down to the lower side, okay? Before we make our move on making a decision on what to take as a trade. So what we're going to do at the minute, guys, we'll pause the video. We'll be back in a second. So we're back, guys. Got our trusty fire wand out, and as you can see, the directional bias, it is acting the way I thought it was going to. I said this morning that I was anticipating a move to the lower side before the bounce up. However, for breaker structure on a swing point, I was expecting either a continuation down, breaking this lower low, or a move up to break the lower high, okay? So we could be entering a trade around about here with a 1 to 2 or just under a 1 to 2. Just get rid of some of the noise. Again, it's a 1% risk. If we get this trade comes in, then we can then start to turn the dial on that asymmetrical compounding. We'll see what we get on this. I'm just going to pause the video. We'll be back in a moment. Again, order block wise, for those that like to be visual, I've got around about, let's take a look, it's that there. I'm going to cover the wick on this, and obviously the body there, cushion just before perpetual swirl before there, and it's just under a 3 pip stop loss for a 5 pip gain. It's a 1 to 2. Again, that there, because we have to be visual, that there is the order block. Okay, we'll take it from there, guys. I'm going to pause the video. We'll be back shortly. So we've had a movement back up to the upside. However, we have just fell short of the order block by a pipette or so. Hopefully we might get a pull back into that. It's certainly done a range on here, in fairness. It's come into there to mitigate that little swing back, but I thought it may have at least come up to this area. Just going to drill a bit further in at the moment, because let's take a look. We had selling power all the way down to here. Okay, let's just get rid of that bit at the moment, and I'll explain something. And if we drag that out, that there, if you ignore this pull up, as we had the drive down doing a break of structure, okay, and before we had any of this here from the flat body wick coming back into this candle, that there is imbalance. Okay, that there's imbalance, and this is beautifully come back up. It's mitigated into that imbalance, and now it's starting to shoot back off. However, again, we speak about imbalances. Wick, sell, 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 all the way down until we reach a point of return. So that's all selling power. That there's just a little bit of imbalance lying above this area at the moment. So we have another imbalance area as well. Let's just mark this out. And we're going to stay with this trade simply because we've got two imbalance areas as such. Okay, as we've had the price come back up, price inefficiency has all been met. There's nothing as we get this back onto there. There's nothing as we come back up, okay, from the pullback here, where it leaves a footprint of imbalance, because this here would have been imbalance. However, when you look at this structure wise, okay, this has sort of been met apart from that little bit there. So all buying power here up until this point, it's come to mitigate into this area of that buying candle. So that there, this is just to give you an in-depth look at what imbalance is and how these can be met. 3 layers of imbalance. Okay, because we like to deep dive into the analytical side of the trades. And you'll notice I'm still scalping. I'm not worrying about price movement, things like that. We go on about how the 1 minute can sort of throw a lot of things at us, but I'm not stressing over price at the moment. We're risking 1%. It's like I say, we're only waiting for that push onto the entry to give us a 5 pip move. It's got a lot of misconception with regards to what we call sort of price movement. Yes, when you start getting the impulse drives, you may get the candles moving quite erratically, but again, we are caught within that zone. We've had one little breakout, so at the moment price is just deciding what it wants to do. I've got my order block set, which is on the higher side of things. We've delved a little bit deeper into the price of what we're looking at the moment. Okay, so what we've got here, if we just mark it up, we've got the lower high we can now mark. Okay, and also we can mark the lower low. So we are anticipating price, in all honesty, to come back to here to give us a possible lower high, if that makes sense. And you see how this is wicked in beautifully now. And again, guys, I don't make this stuff up. I'm calmly sort of giving you a running play of commentary on what price is doing between these areas. It's not something I thought I would be able to do over time. I've always been a long-term trader. Never really had the patience for scalping. But again, once I've understood price movement, price action, and swing points, and how structures held, it's sort of everything has sort of clicked for me. And again, I'm not rushing. Like, when you think of scalping, you think emotions, you think it's too quick, and it's like watching a work of art, to be fair, when you see things moving around. Now, what one of the possibilities that could happen is we might spike down out of here and we might create a new lower low. We might have just missed out on this trade by that pipette. And if we have, that's fine. All we know is if that does happen, then we just understand that our directional bias was correct. We just had a super refined entry, if that makes sense, which hadn't been mitigated. And it's all about having these super fine entries to maintain a good consistency and profitability. So this is where the confidence comes in, where I'm showing you this like this, and it's coming into the playbook of action, if you want to call it that. We're bouncing between the two imbalance areas right now. So again, this just helps you build your confidence, because it's letting you see and understand price movement, price action, but at the same time as the confidence, it's giving you the consistency, because as you layer them two together, you're refining entries and things like that. From there, the profitability, you just leave profitability alone, because once you get the two that I've just mentioned there, the confidence and consistency, your profitability just falls into place, to be fair. So again, looking at this as a deeper dive, we've identified 3 areas of imbalance. And right now it's beautifully playing between the two of them on the lower side. We just want a little resurge back up to sort of invalidate this imbalance, but then just this peak and touch its nose onto our entry position of this imbalance. I don't really want to see this break out of here, because if we see this break out of this imbalance here, it's possibly going to head towards the liquidity side of the price, to be fair. which is very, very close to doing at the moment. But again, we just wait for price to show its hand. Let's take a look. So again, we just mark there, it's poking its nose out now. So it might continue down to take away the liquidity on this bottom side, to be fair. Let's just hang around, see if we get a bit of a fake out to take the entry up on the top, or is it just going to push down into that liquidity thing? I was hoping this imbalance area was going to hold. It obviously hasn't. Let's see what's going to give that final push. And again, guys, we're talking, when I say refined, we are talking refinement to down to the pip. So that's not even a pip away from hitting the liquidity area on that. So it might just push through, to be fair. But at least you've seen what I'm on about with regards to these imbalance areas and just how they hold and what they do. Right, it took liquidity down on that side. From there, I'm just going to gently bring down my area. Bring down that there. And you can see it's just wicked out of there. 1, 2, 6, 7. See if I can get this to a 1 to 2. I'll have this here. Right, we'll see if this can be tested. This is, again, we're going super refinement to your mind, guys. Super refinement. So that has been a breaker structure. Okay, we can now get rid of the imbalance. Still needs to be met on here, so it's a little bit of a risky move. That can be taken away. Get rid of this order block. And I'm just trying to get a super refined entry, to be fair. From there, again, mark out your imbalance. You've got the body down to that wick at the moment of the buying power. That there is imbalance. It's been met. Oh, do apologize. My Mac computer going a bit crazy. So at the moment, that's in balance as well. 50% has been met. And as you can see, as we're coming down, obviously this here is still in balanced area here. It's been mitigated a slight touch, but not fully. On the higher side, we've got the protected high. Okay, this here, we've got a protected high sort of thing in balance here. So there's two areas that could possibly want to be taken out if we get a push and a resurgence back to the top side. At the moment, price is just fluctuating into this imbalance area. I'm trying to stay on as live as much as I can, just so we can see how the price action respects and moves between these areas. Let's see, we'll get a little push out of here, because if we get the push out of this imbalanced zone, we certainly would be heading towards the imbalance of the higher side for a touch, but we need the continuation from this here to push up. It may come down and break the structure again. It was only a slight break of structure from the previous one, to be fair. It might push down and give us a further breakdown. If it does do that, we're not going to be moving the order block. We'll just move the price down with it. I'm just trying to get a super refined entry, to be honest. So I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to mark off price where we're at, okay? I'm going to mark price where we're at, and then I'm going to pause the video. We'll be back in a second, and I'll explain why and how prices moved within these areas. Okay, so like I say, I'll just move that down to there. Pause the video, we'll be back in a second. So we've had a few minutes. Okay, this is where I last had the recording at. You can see we're respecting quite a bit in here with regards to this imbalance area here. And this is just highlighting the importance of such points of interest of imbalance, if that makes sense, because these imbalance areas can sort of reaccumulate liquidity in these areas, which it is doing right now. Again, as it's reaccumulating liquidity within an area. So again, we're just being very analytical with our approach. We've still got our entry as we are expecting. Let's see if we get a stop out over the liquidity grab on here. Will we actually get that, or is it going to bounce back down? I hope you're getting some good, valuable lessons with this, and you're implementing this sort of stuff on your trade. And again, don't live trade this, just practice drawing out what's happening within you. There we are. We've got to push out now. We might get up towards the entry. So just practice these and just look and understand price action, price movement, and why they're doing these things. Again, this could still be a risky move. Don't get me wrong, simply because the imbalance, we've got to protect it on the stop here, but we've got two areas of importance here as well. Imbalance on the higher side, but also a protected sort of lower high, if that makes sense. So again, let's get this. That there will be a lower high. And so we've got two areas. There's the entry. Let's just see if we come back down for the push. I can get rid of this now. See if we can come down. I'm hoping it's going to hold structure. We've got, like I say, a couple of areas. We've got this here, this here. We've got this here. So these here are just stepping stones down the stairs, and liquidity resides on each of these areas. So let's say if the market wanted to move, we could get a stop out on liquidity here, a liquidity grab here. The next liquidity grab would be up on this one. The next liquidity grab would be up on the higher side. So if we said, let's protect ourselves as such to there, 1 to 185, just so it's got a protection of that liquidity there, if that makes sense. So going on the higher side, if we protect ourselves from that liquidity there, yes, what we've done there now is the risk, we've moved the stop loss a tiny fraction, but it's, again, we're protecting ourselves from 1, 2, 3 areas of liquidity grabs. If this was to take out all 3, then it's then going to be circling this imbalance here to then go towards this higher side. And then maybe what's going to happen, it's going to touch where the entry was on the first trade, to be fair. But we'll see what happens. Let's just anticipate what's going to happen here. It looks as if it's going to come up and touch into that first order block, which was, it was going to be that there, I think. But we'll see if that first one holds. It looks like it's going to give us a push in it. And then obviously, as this has taken that imbalance there, we can sort of reanalyze a few things here. Let's just get rid of that. So again, on the lower side, imbalance there. So as the wicks here buying power, buying power, buying power, slammed back into where the buying candle is. That there would be known as an imbalance area, okay? And then again, that there would also be an imbalance, okay? So today's session is going to be geared towards identifying imbalance within price action. So that's what I'm going to be doing with this, and it's why it's named imbalance for today. It's just going to show you, just even down to the 1 minute chart, how price will play through these areas and how we are expecting them to come back to mitigate into these areas. It looks as if this is going to stop us out, and it's going to head into this area here. Let's take a look. You can see how it's wicked into that, to be fair. That looks as if it has actually stopped out. So that's a -1 on there. -1%. And now it's gone back into this imbalance area here now. The initial trade, I do believe, was something along the lines of that. But it's even going to stop that out as well. I'm not going to enter that as a trade, but that was the initial move. We're now seeing all of these imbalance areas have been met. This looks as if it's going to start to take this lower high out as well, to be fair. So I just take out all of these. Just to get rid of the noise. Again, I'm just going to draw that out across there. Again, this is the impulse. This is the impulse drive, if that makes sense. When we did our big path, it would be from there to there, intermediary price wise. So now what you've got is you've got a range on here, okay? So we spoke about this the other day as well. We spoke about ranges, okay? Now, as you get a breakout, you'll normally get a push back into a range. So that was a breakout of this range, this lower high, okay? Lower high. If we get some fibs for that, okay, and we just change the fibs over to the fire zones. It's not done this for a while. You can see how this is now being respected inside of that fire zone. It's respecting that area. Again, we've got the lower high to push through that. It's now certainly going to head towards this area now. Like I said, so we just put a colored box in there, just out of curiosity, unless it's took out liquidity on that lower high there, to be fair. Just get rid of the box. Get rid of this. So we've still got imbalance here. And again, as we're getting this spike up, okay, the spike up, we are looking at the body there, okay? Buying power, buying power, buying power, buying power, bang, some resistance. So the candles come back down. That there is also imbalance. So we've got 3 levels of imbalance on this swing point where we could possibly get a turnaround point. We'll get rid of that because that's been met. shouldn't have really took the trade today. I think I should have used this as just as a educational lesson. But hey, we're not too worried. We've still got 40% growth over the last 5 weeks, which is exceptional, to be fair. Again, this here is a fire zone. It's the bigger as you go into the fire zones. Okay, you've got, what was it, 1, 2, 3, around about six boxes within the fire zone, the fibs off the top of my head, where you've got the outer ones and then you've got the inner ones. Okay, excuse me. This is the upper outer one. So again, if price was to come up, it's respecting again, and I don't make this stuff up. If you look into this, as I've just noticed this now, this is the order block, and look what's nesting inside of it. It was the upper fire zone of the initial range, lower high, if that makes sense. So again, that's a nested area, and I've got to go more about nesting areas and things like that inside of the Discord. I've got more training on things like that, but it's fantastic. Are we coming back down to mitigate into these imbalance areas? I think I'll use the rest of this video, guys, to actually give you an understanding on mitigation and imbalance areas on current live price action. To be fair, I don't think I'll get into any more trades. We'll take a -1 for the day, and we'll just sort of go on the understanding what's happening with these imbalance areas and how to draw them out, to be honest. So which area is going to come first? Is it going to be the nested fire zone, or are we going to get the push up before we then get the drive down? We might see that happen. We might see the mitigation into the nested area of this order block for that push down, because again, lower high, we broke the structure of this. Let's just take a look. In fact, I might get this set, to be fair. I might get this set. If we go down to that. In fact, yes, I'm going to have that as a trade, guys, a 1 to 5. We'll have a 1 to 5 on that. Let's take a 1 to 5 on that. This is going to be an interesting trade, simply because we've got the lower high here. As we've swung down, we've made a lower, the breaker structure of this. Okay. I think in hindsight, looking at this, we certainly looking at the little pip that was taken out here, I think it was a little bit premature with getting in, to be fair, but I'm not worried about that. I still think overall we're going to be heading down to here. In all honesty, if we look at on a bird's eye view on where we at on price at the moment, again from yesterday, you've got a high. Now the last few days, around about 11:30 at night, going into the morning, we've been seeing some big impulse moves, to be fair. And I don't know why that is. It's been a strange. It's been a strange week, if I'm honest with you, for trading. Lower high. That's a lower, man. It's a lower. Intermediary though, we've got lows, so we'll just get rid of that one there. Lower high. Right, so we've got price there. And we're coming in. Yeah, 1 to 5. I'm pretty happy with this. See if we can get this in. And we speak about asymmetrical compounding as well. Normally on asymmetrical compounding, you have, from what I normally do, I normally go for 2 winning trades. So let's say in this instance, it's 1 to 5. You get a 1 to 5, a 1 to 5. Let's say you get 2 lots of trades out of 1 to 5. There's 10% growth. Okay. So let's take a look at this. So you get a 1 to 5. And it wins, okay? Let's say it wins. You get a 1 to 5, okay? That's going to give you 10%, okay, guys? From there, you're going to take your next 1 to 5, because we're just going to use this as a numerical sort of reference. So let's say you get 3 lots of trades of 1 to 5. The third one, you're going to plus the 1 to the 5. It's going to give you 6, okay? So your next 1 to 5, when it wins, you're going to the power of 6. So you're taking 6% risk, 6% risk out of 10% already won. Okay, so you're using a little bit more of your capital. If it wins, okay, gains of the begins of 30% made, or simply risking 6% of the 10 previously won. So I hope that sort of makes a little bit of sense for you. Okay. Again, if we go off our chart at the moment, let's take a look at this. At the moment, I've got a -1. I'll tell you what we'll do. Got a -1%, and I'll take this off there now, just so you know I'm doing this live. That's 40.92% for the last 5 weeks. Now, to make this a little bit exciting, what we'll do is we'll keep this entry here. We'll keep this here, and we'll do this asymmetrical, okay? So we've got 1 to the power of 5. So that's 6, because we've got 40% to play with. Let's say we're going to risk 6% for this trade, okay? 6%, if it enters, we're going to get 30%. Okay, so 30% on the 40 will give us a 70% gain. We might as well let this sort of try and play out. I like this sort of trade at the moment, because the confluences are there for me. From there, go back. Right, so from our fire wand, we can see we're getting the mitigation. The mitigation has took play, and it's took out that imbalance there. So that's imbalance 1 taken. Let's see if we'll get the drive back up for this 1 to 5. It's a 2 pip stop. I'm going to pause the video, guys, but I'm hoping that little explanation of how the 2 trades win, you would have gotten 10%, okay, on a 1 to 5, 1 to 5. Your third trade, let's say it's a 1 to 5, you do the addition, it gives you 6, okay? So a third trade, if it was 1 to 5, let's say you only trade 1 to 5 risks all the time. So another 1 to 5, so you're doing that to the power of 6% out of the 10 that you previously won. So 6% out of the 10 already won is being risked. So if this wins, you're going to get gains of 30%, simply because you've been risking 6% of our 10% previously won. And that's what we're going to do on this. We're going to risk 6%, because capital wise, we've already got 40%. Okay, we're going to step it up a notch and just say we get that. I'm going to pause the video. It's half time. I'm going to go and make my, well, it's just over half time. I'm going to go and make me half time cup of tea, guys. Guys, back at belated half-time cup of tea, albeit we're in the final leg, the last half hour. Chocolate biscuit of choice today, the 12. And you all know Fredo. You all know Fredo. Right, fun time over. Let's have a catch up on this. So as we can see, we've had a pullback. From the pullback, we have now got a bit of a consolidated range. In that consolidated range, you're talking roughly a few pips. Let's get rid of that. Again, from there, I hope this isn't like what it was at the beginning of the session. We've got around about just under a pip from being on the entry point on that standpoint, which will be a shot in the foot if this then continues to come down to mitigating the imbalance, and then obviously the liquidity area. Which want to get rid of that now. That was a bit of a rush of blood to get into that trade, to be fair. This one here, that was a bit of a rush of blood, if I'm honest with you. We learn from these things, in all honesty. But again, I hope when I explain all of this, the trades and obviously the risk to reward and then to the power of whatever to the previous 2-1, obviously it makes sense to turn the dial after a third win, after a second win sort of thing, just because you've got the capital to play with, to be fair, okay? So the reason I'm going to be risking 6 on this, we've got 1 to 5, so obviously 1 and the 5 is 6. We're going to risk 6% because overall we do have 40%. So hopefully we're going to increase this from a 5% win to a 30% win. That 30% win then goes on the 40, there's 70% growth. We're still going to let this play out. Again, I'm going to pause the video, we'll have my cup of tea, my chocolate biscuit, and we'll see if we get the push back into this area. Hopefully we haven't missed out by what this is at the moment, but we'll see. I'll be back in a few moments. A quick catch up, guys. We are now at around about 10 minutes left to play. Let's just move this out. A 1 to 5. We are risking the 1 plus the 5, which is the equation on that, 6%. Out of the 30% we've already won. So I'm just gonna, yeah, I'll keep that equation there. That was, you know what this explanation was, to be fair. I'll leave this on the board. However, we have sort of had liquidity here on the high side. This is now coming down to take the imbalance. See this here? Excuse me, it's now going to hunt for this imbalance here, to be fair. We'll see if it's going to play it into that area. There's your reaction of it. There's your reaction of the imbalanced area there, to be honest. Are we going to head back up into the 1 or 2 things? Obviously, we've got liquidity residing up here, but then we've also got the imbalance residing inside of the order block, as I mentioned earlier. Or is this just going to simply push through imbalance 1 and then imbalance 2 to take out the liquidity on the lower side? Which is this here. I mean, obviously the liquidity resides here, but I've got this on a 1 to 5, simply just to there. So from that aspect, I'm just going to put, that's where my TP is at the moment, okay? Just going to put my TP to there. Again, we're getting a lovely bounce back up off that imbalanced area. And again, as always, if this trade does not activate before 10:30, we just cancel it off. We make sure that we have documented that 1% loss for the day. But today has been a good session to give you an understanding of the play of imbalances and how they're respected, okay? But not only that, I went over the asymmetrical compounding again. So I'm going to pause the video, guys. We're going to see what happens with regards to this at the moment. It has mitigated a touch into the imbalance. Not even a pipette, to be fair. But again, this is just showing you the importance of marking your areas out. So just pause the video for now. We'll be back in a second. And we'll come to a conclusion now, guys. Again, look at this. It's beautifully playing into the imbalance again. This is going to be the last, let's take a look, the last 3 or 4 minutes. And we're getting the respect and a bounce back off that imbalance. That imbalance area itself is not even a pip. It was not even a pip. And you can see how it's respecting that. So again, it's just highlighting the importance of these imbalance areas and why and what they're for, because it's imbalance is basically on trading. It's an area of exactly what the word is, imbalance, where there's only been one power in control, whether it's the buyers or whether it's the sellers. So with contracts being opened here, it's all been buying power. So we have to come back in to mitigate at some stage to take away that price. And we've more or less done that now. And again, I've got to reiterate, that imbalance area that I marked out was less than a pip. Less than a pip. We've marked it out. We've identified it as structure. We're on a 1-minute chart. We're not stressing over entries or anything like that. And you can see that this has just beautifully come down and it's bounced into that less than a pip imbalance area, respected it. And now we move, excuse me, now we move to the higher side. Now, if I was to drill in, we could start having a bit more fun again and start seeing imbalance, flat top, imbalance here. Okay, we can mark out an imbalance there. Let's have some fun for the last minute or two. We can see flat top to here, that's imbalance there. It's been mitigated a touch. Okay, so for the last 2 minutes, let's just see if price comes back up. It sort of comes into the play of this imbalance, because I'm gonna name this video today obviously the session, but it's going to be imbalance, because I've had a few people ask me about imbalance and things like that. Excuse me. So that play out. Let's just see what happens now with regards to the last few minutes. Let's say we get a run of play on these imbalance areas. Again, as you can see, just try to get my handsome head up over here. As you can see, we've got imbalance here. Buying power from the wick, buy into the wick of there. And you can see as we come along, we've come in, taken the imbalance just about. From there, what we have is wick. Okay, we had buying power coming out of that. Buy. We've got a new candle. We've got a wick coming down. So the sellers were in control for a limited period. So we have from wick to the wick. That is an imbalance as well. Hasn't been mitigated yet. However, on the higher side, as we've come down from this sort of liquidity double top area, we've got an imbalance area here. Again, selling power all the way down, still selling, but then on this candle here as the open, okay, the buyers were back in control for a limited period. Buyers went into control for a limited period, taking up contracts within this selling candle, and it stopped here. So that meant from the selling of the opening candle here to here, is an imbalanced area, which still needs to be mitigated in the near future. And then coming down, some good price efficiency here. Once again, we went into a drive of selling power, selling all the way down to here. However, the buyers were in control for, again, a limited period, bringing price back up to this area. So this created our imbalance area, went back into selling mode. From there, we then got a mitigation a little bit more into this imbalanced area. And then we've got another drive price down. Some nice price efficiency now, other than on the upside, we've got a little bit of imbalance here, a little bit of imbalance here. We ignore this because I was just highlighting double tops. And then from two imbalanced areas, you've got the entry on the top here with a nested area for a fire zone, which we mark out on a swing point if you watch this video from the beginning, and then also the order block. Okay, so at the moment, guys, that's it for the session today. I'm going to leave this trade as it is just to see if it enters. It's not going to be highlighted, so even if it does smack that entry, and even if it does come down to the 5% to give us a 30% gain, it will not be documented because it hasn't happened within the 2-hour frame. I'm very strict with what I do with documenting on this. Okay, I do have it set on as a live trade on my live account, but for documentation purposes, I'm only allowing the results to sort of dictate what happens within that 2-hour time frame, if that makes sense. I do have the trade set as a possibility on my live account though, but for show and tell and display purposes, I want to contain everything within the structure on how we've been playing this over the last 4 weeks or so. Okay, so I'm just going to end it there. I'm going to stop the share and we'll have our full-time analysis talk. Again, share the screen. Sorry, I do apologize about this. Share the screen. We need to go and have a look at the reanalyzed on the session, as we always do. So as we've come in, okay, from yesterday, I mean, this looks a hot mess at the moment, but if you watched yesterday's videos, you'll understand all this drawn out. We had 8 hours of play yesterday, just before yesterday's session, or the day before, and there was around 30-odd pips. We then went into 20-odd hours, and there was just as many pips in the 20-odd to what there was on this impulse drive. So this was a good impulse drive. This was a consolidated zone. However, out of the two, we have been stuck within that zone as such, in all honesty, and it's a distribution phase at the moment as we've had to climb up. There's around about 50-odd pips of clear there. We need a breakout of one of these, the higher side or the lower side. I still anticipated from yesterday that we were going to get a push down into this area. Okay, we didn't quite get it. A push down into this area and then a drive up. We might get that later on today at some point, maybe it's in the New York session. As we headed into today, we marked out our session going into what we were doing. We got a high. This is intermediary price. So we just do from the 1 minute, we mark out the swing points that is prominent on the 1 minute. And then as you scale up your time frame, you'll see that these will beautifully sort of constrict into those areas. So we've got highs, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower highs. I'm just going to check that out because now it's got no relevance to what we were looking at the time. Lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs. And again, we still continue that trend down. We got in a little bit too quick, if I'm honest with you, with regards to this here. We were a little bit too quick, a rush of blood. It happens. We learn from it. So we lost a 1% today in the session. However, I've been asked a lot over the last 24 hours or so about imbalance areas. So we took the 1% hit and I've spoke about imbalance. And before we close out, we can see this here. Imbalance has been met on this now. So that sort of takes out that now. Okay. This hasn't quite been taken out. So we've got imbalance on the two higher sides. And all imbalance is just to explain this one more time for you, all imbalances is once you get a push or a drive, whether it's buying or selling, there's just been too much power for anything other than that one thing. So this one entity, this candle, is buying, okay? So as we've come up, we've got the open of the candle, buy, 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 buy. We've changed into the next minute, the open of the candles here, okay? The open of the candles here, the close of the candles on the top because it's buying. So buying goes up. But between the candle, okay, between the candle, you've got price action here and price action here in the form of a wick, okay? So this means the buyers, were trying to gain more control, but the selling power, even though this is the open of the candle, the selling power was driving, and the sellers were in control for a limited period, okay? So the sellers were in control for a limited period of that there, okay? So as the sellers were in control for a limited period, it made selling go into this last buying candle, okay? So it sort of exhausted itself to this point, but then the buyers went back into control, hence why it's a green candle at the close, and then the open of a new candle. From there, this has left a void, a gap, so to speak, okay? So between the wick of this candle, we had the push, yes, close the candle, open of candle, buy and selling, leaving residue with a wick behind, and so the wick of the sellers was left here. So that induced a void from here to here. That is your imbalance, okay? I hope that makes sense. Let's just scroll back out and see where we are with price at the moment. There we are. We'll just move these out. And we see we're just between these areas, and that's your order block there. So it looks like price is going to go up. I've got this on my live trade still, as I said, pending. Not going to document it on here if it wins, because it hasn't happened within our time frame. Today has been another good session for an explanation of certain price action, I believe. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Again, we went over this asymmetrical compounding again, but nothing has come to fruition with this yet. Patience is key. This will come in time. Just stop the share, put my big handsome Geordie head there. So again, I do hope you're enjoying these sessions. Again, this is, for me, this is keeping me accountable. It's helping, obviously, I do believe it. I hope it's helping you. But more importantly, it helps me because it keeps my skills sharpened. It's helping me identify structure more. Again, and I'll always say this, even after this video has finished and I've encoded it and then the finished article is up on YouTube, I'll always go back and rewatch these things. And the biggest takeaway or biggest tip I can give you or advise you to do, if you've gotten any sort of value out of this today, okay, if you've gotten any sort of value out of any of my sessions, all you need to do is simply have your notepad and pen. If something resonates with you and you have that little light bulb spark of a moment, all you need to do is pause the video, timestamp it, put what I went over and what it was about, or the subject. On this occasion, I've mentioned imbalance a lot today. Timestamp that time onto your notepad and pen with today's session, which is the 21st? I do believe the 21st. Let's have a look. Yeah, the 21st of October, with the timestamp and what I spoke about. Highlight it and keep it inside of your notepad and pen so you can go back and reference, archive, and look back on the footage so you can refresh your memory, okay? So that's been me for today, guys. Again, if you are getting value and you're still sort of watching these videos from a subscription sort of side, hit the subscribe button if you haven't done that. Hit the notification bell so you'll get notified whenever I do stuff. I'm looking to be sort of doing these things live going into the new year, possibly. But again, if I do that, it's going to be for members that support the channel only. Okay, now if you want to do that, there is a join button somewhere below this video. For the price of a cup of tea each month, you'll not only get access to behind the scenes and the stuff that I will eventually be putting in place with possibly the lives, but you'll also get access to the bigger stuff that I do, which is the community that I built over a year ago called the Forex Fire. There's so much more value inside of there. There's a lot of members in there. There's a lot of engagement. Everybody helps each other and keeps each other accountable. And that's it for me for today, guys. The 2-hour session has come to an end. I hope you have a fantastic day. We're heading into Friday tomorrow. So again, it's been a good week. This might be the first week out of the 5 or 6 weeks that we've done where we may just be breaking even for the week. We've been profitable every week. So looking back as a bigger picture onto bird's eye view with the plan that we've done, we've got fantastic growth at the minute. So I'm not worried about that. If I can turn things mid-session and give it a more valuable educational outlook for you guys, then fantastic. If I can show you me catching pips at the same time, it's a bonus. So see you later, guys. If you can, just engage, drop your messages below and let me know what you're thinking of the value that's being provided. See you later.